Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Mark Rollins.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you've given us. We thank you for the opportunities to come together in fellowship and business on behalf of our communities and this district. We ask now that you be with us, watch over us, and guide us. In your name we pray. Amen.
At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Spartanburg 1 Board of Trustees meeting, December the 11th, 2023, and the time is 7:31. If you would, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the first item on the agenda tonight is the oath of office and the code of ethics for those that were elected November the 7th, and that will be administered by Dr. Mark Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome all of our families here tonight and guests. It's a big night. It's a night to celebrate. I think it's so neat to watch in our country where we have the ability, the awesome ability to elect our own leaders. And there's no greater leadership than at the local level. And so this is a wonderful, I believe we have Mark Holden signing in. Mark will be joining us via a Google link tonight. But I just want to celebrate this night. So glad you folks are here to be with your families. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. So when I call you up, please come up and then also bring your family Bible where I'll be swearing you in. And then as you return to your seat, you'll be able to sign the board member code of ethics. So first up, Miss Barbara Hopper and her immediate family, please join me at the podium. Come on, that's right. Come on.
I have to tell y'all that my grandfather said I never knew this. He's got a 75, 80-year-old Bible that my mom kept. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Thank you. Travis, come up. Yeah, just immediate family. He's immediate. That's your boy. Come on up here, Travis.
Terry, please.
Yes. Yeah. The children. Come on, Missy. Thank you. All right, yes. Please raise your right hand, your left hand on the Bible. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified.
I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified.
You got it. According to the Constitution of this state.
According to the Constitution of this state.
To exercise the duty of the office.
To exercise the duty of this office.
To which I've been elected.
To which I've been elected.
And that I will, to the best of my ability.
And I will, to the best of my ability.
Discharge the duties thereof.
Discharge the duties thereof.
And preserve.
And preserve.
Protect.
Protect.
And defend the Constitution of this state.
And defend the Constitution of this state.
And of the United States.
And of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Big round of applause for Miss Barbara Hopper. Miss Wanda McDowell and her immediate family.
And I have my grandfather's Bible. Many of you probably remember Roy Beeson, who used to clean up at Rexall Drugs at Kempton, and so I'm honoring my grandfather.
Thank you, Wanda. Please raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. and please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I've been elected,
to which I've been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution of this state
and defend the Constitution of this state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Big round of applause for Miss Wanda McDowell. Mark Smith. Congratulations. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Gene Vanderford, please join me with your immediate family, and your family Bible at the front here by the podium. All right, Mr. Vanderford, please place your left hand on the Bible. Please raise your right hand, and please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified, according to the Constitution of this state, to exercise the duties of the office to which I've been elected, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge the duties thereof, and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States. So help me God. Big round of applause, Mr. Gene Vanderford. New board members, welcome. And if this time we please sign your South Carolina School Board Association Board of Ethics. You can leave that at your space, and Ms. Brooks will get that at the end of our meeting. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. And tonight, that consists of only the consent agenda, but that has 4 parts. That is the approval of the agenda, for tonight's agenda, the approval of the minutes from November 13th, 2023, approval of the check registry, and approval of an overnight field trip. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion?
I have a motion by Ms. Baker. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Rollins. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Mark Smith.
I'm getting a workout tonight, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to go back to the podium, so give me just a second. Getting my steps in. We have a very special recognition tonight. I'd like for one of our principals, the director of Swafford Career Center, Mr. Greg Lovelace, to come join me up here to my left, please. It's a very special presentation. And Carmen, will you come join me as well, please? Ms. Carmen Knight teaches our employment education students at Swafford Career Technology Center. And several weeks ago, she reached out to me and said, Mark, we've got to do something to honor the best boss in the world. Now, I thought I was the best boss in the world, but I was wrong. Miss Knight, teacher, she says that it's Greg. And I said, I'm all for it. In the less than a year I've been here, Greg's just done outstanding work with all of our students at our Career Technology Center, which is just booming, by the way, booming. What a thing where every year, we're turning out students ready for the workplace and the career field. So great work. But Greg has won an award, the Richard M. Kuffel Memorial Award. And I always think it's really neat when you win something that you don't seek. You know, some folks out there are seeking stuff, and you know, that's great. And hey, don't hate the player, hate the game is what I say. That's fine. But I really love to know that when Greg had no idea this was going on, Carmen went behind his back and got with me and submitted this wonderful application, which he won. Let me just tell you a little bit about this award. This award presented tonight to Mr. Greg Lovelace, and this award, the Richard M. Kuffel Memorial Award, is presented to an individual who's made a significant contribution of career education and transition through means other than direct classroom instruction. This award is in memory of Mr. Kuffel, renowned for his diligence on behalf of students with disabilities. Mr. Kuffel's efforts enhanced the services of the South Carolina Vocational Rehab Department and other agencies in this regard. As a former SCDC-DT board member, his idealism, sensitivity, and humility and great kindness were and continue to be an inspiration to all who knew him and followed his lead. Let me read you some excerpts from the application Miss Knight wrote for the award, and she just talked to the kids. If you want to get it straight, always talk to the kids and listen to what they say about their principal. He comes into our classroom and talks to us a lot. He's very nice and smiles. Would your wife say that, Greg? Would she say that? Okay, all right. She's nodding, okay. He says hello to me every day. He gives us everything we need for Sweets and Treats Shop. That is our store at Swalford run by our special education students. They have some amazing treats over there. What's that lemonade thing they call? Specialty lemonade. It's out of this world, so highly recommend it. Not that I've had any, but you look at my waistline, of course I have. He just bought us a freezer to help with our ice cream. I like anybody that's buying a freezer for ice cream. Great, that's good work. He's a good leader. He makes my day better when I'm upset. That's coming from a child. He makes me feel special. So Greg, we are honored to have you in our district. We celebrate this award with you. We're grateful for you, and thank you for Carmen for nominating you. Big round of applause for Mr. Greg Lovelace. All right, instead of transitioning one more time back, I'm going to just go ahead and update the board. Got some great things to tell you. I always believe in celebrating. I always believe in promoting things we're doing well. So I'd like to thank the board again for listening to our teachers and our staff when they took their staff survey last year back in March. Because in that survey, one of their main things were we need help covering classes. Because they'd been covering classes since COVID, substitutes were hard to find. So that's when we started looking and found Kelly Services. And the school board took a leap of faith to trust a new superintendent and a group they'd never heard of, Kelly Services, and off we went to see how it would go. Well, this school year, it's gone quite well. I was going to share some numbers with you. Our total absences of our staff are up by 34%. So that means we have 34% more absences this year than last year. You may say, well, that's terrible. We got more people out. That is not terrible. Do you know why teachers and staff were coming to work last year? They were coming sick because they didn't want their colleagues to have to cover their classes. So this year, people feel the freedom to actually take a sick day. That is going for the long term of for our children in our classrooms. That's going to give our teachers better emotional and mental health and better physical health, as we all know, because it's hard to work when you're sick. So 34% increases in absences. These absences have been filled at a rate of 87% more than last year. That's incredible. Kelly Services has filled 2,597 absences so far this year. That's more than all the absences we had last year. Let me say that again. Kelly Services has filled 2,597 sub positions. That's more than 291 total absences we had for the year. So our teachers and our staff are out getting nursed back to health and taking care of themselves, and Kelly's doing the job. This time last year, from August to December, we had a 60% fill rate of our substitutes. This time this year, from August to December, 84% fill rate. So 24% increase. And talk to our teachers and staff. Talk to them, because they'll tell you that they're not having to cover as many classes. And that's a big hallelujah, amen from the teachers and the staff. So thank you so much for that. Just last little numbers thing here. This August, Kelly Services, and I want to see if you can pick out a trend here. Kelly Services this August had 78% fill rate. In September, 81% fill rate. October, 83% fill rate. November, 88% fill rate. What's happening here? I know y'all, it's going up. And then in December, as of today, it was 91% fill rate. So it's going to keep getting better and better. I look at it every day, twice a day. I'm addicted to it. Hey, some people get addicted to other things. I'm addicted to seeing our sub rate filled, okay? And the only bad thing with that, I'll say teachers that are watching, I know who's out now. I always know, I see the names, which is fine. But the fill rate has gotten better and better. And just thank you, school board, because y'all took the risk, and it's an investment in our teachers and our staff, and I thank you so much for that. So I wanted to celebrate that real quickly. Now I want to celebrate my favorite subject, the students. Had a great first semester, absolutely great first semester. I want to celebrate some student successes. Let's start with Landrum High School, and we're going to look at fine arts success, and we're going to look at athletic success as well. We're going to start with Landrum with athletics. Landrum High School volleyball, the girls team, they won their region, and they also won the Upper State Championship. Matter of fact, they did not lose a set in the whole Upper State playoff run, not one set, okay? They won 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and then we lost to Bishop England in the state championship. But big congratulations to the Landrum volleyball team. Taylor Motts, our coach, was recognized as Coach of the Year, so it's a big celebration there. Our girls cross-country team, in the pouring rain. Cross-country's tough, guys. It is a brutal sport, but it is more brutal when it's raining. So I was down there in Newberry, wet from head to toe, and I couldn't even feel sorry for myself because our girls and our boys running that day were covered in mud. We had some fall, but like true cross-country runners, you know what they do? They hop right back up. There's no crying in cross-country, okay? They get up, they keep going. Our girls in the pouring rain finished 7th in the state. That's pretty daggum good. Our boys that day, same day, finished 4th in the state. So real proud of the cross-country teams at Landrum. Girls tennis had a great season. They won their first round playoff game and then lost a close one in the second round. Our girls golf team finished 9th in the state at Landrum. So that was also a great season for them. We had several all-state players. Excuse me. Allie Mae Martin in volleyball, Maddie Smith in volleyball, and Emma Smith in volleyball, all-state. And in girls cross-country, Amara Hilly was all-state. Allie Mae Martin participated in North-South All-Star game in volleyball, and Lexi Harden participated in the girls' state tennis tournament. So congratulations to those athletes at Landrum. Now Chapman, going on looking at their successes in sports, competition cheer team and football both won region titles. Girls tennis, girls cross-country, and girls golf were region runner-ups. Competitive cheer placed 3rd in the state. That's right, our girls came in 3rd. For those of us who were there, we won't go into too much detail, but some of us think we may have been gypped a little bit, not to get into any controversy, but our girls, I've watched them several times this year, and they nailed the routine. They nailed it. It was perfect. And if I can tell it's perfect, you know it's pretty good, because obviously that is not my forte, but our girls over the course of the year got better and better, and when it counted the most, they did their best performance, and we're so proud of that 3rd place finish. They did excellent. Girls golf team finished 6th in the state at Chapman. Boys cross country qualified for the state championship and finished 14th. Miss Adeline Todd earned all-state honors at the 3A golf state tournament. Coleman Gray and Sean Cunningham this past weekend represented us at the North-South All-Star football game in Myrtle Beach. Coleman Gray was named the Region Football Offensive Player of the Year. Reese Lynch was named the Region Football Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach Harry Cabanis was named the Region Football Coach of the Year. So congratulations to our athletes at Landrum and Chapman. And now on to the arts. Our Chapman band had a great competition season. They placed 11th in the upper state competition back in November. Our Landrum band placed, I believe they were 3rd in upper state, and they placed 9th in the state. Had the joy of going down there to Columbia to watch them perform, and they absolutely hit a home run. It was so encouraging to watch them perform. Our Chapman Theater Department placed 6th in the state in their competition, and I had never been to a state competition in the theater. The kids do it all by themselves. The teacher cannot be with them. I mean, think about what I just said. The teacher cannot be with them. The teacher was in the audience with me, and it is just like competitive cheer. I was so nervous because there's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is sit there and pray that everything goes to plan, because in the theater, they only have but a minute to get all their stuff set up. If you don't have it all set up, you're disqualified. Now, that's pressure. Our kids did that all by themselves, so big shout out to Dr. Carrie Ponder. We hit an absolutely home run. They may say 6 in the state, but it was number 1 in my heart for seeing how they pulled it off. It was very, very, very cool to watch. And that doesn't include, school board, the many other wonderful concerts, which we also had tonight. Miss Lily, coming straight from the concert, with our orchestra and our band and our chorus tonight at Chapman and Landrum. They've already had the chorus concert. They'll be having the orchestra later this week. Our art shows and our wonderful plays our theater departments have performed. So it has been a very busy but productive and fun first semester. Now on to community service. The district working together, we provided for Thanksgiving meals for over 54 families. We raised $2,947. $3,000 was raised for families in our community for Thanksgiving. We collected 20,492 canned food items for the District 1 canned food drive. So 20,000 cans of food. This is what I'm most proud of. This past weekend, our district pulled off a great event, the District 1 Christmas for All event. We served 114 families, got to come to Landrum Middle School to pick out Christmas items for their family, and we served 326 children. Teachers were there, support staff members were there, principals were there, assistant principals were there. I know we had one resource officer put together a tricycle. Thank God he was there because I can talk, but I can't work. So I know that doesn't surprise many of you, but man, that was so glad he was able to do that. We had district office administrators there and school board members there. It was a true group effort, and I had the pleasure of taking around some families, and it served my heart well to remind me of the season and to see our kids and our staff come together to serve our great community. Wow. I know we're not perfect. I'm never going to claim to be perfect. There are things we can work on, and there are things we're going to work on. I'm so excited with the new board that we're going to be moving forward, but there is great hope in this school district because we got great kids, and we've got great staff, and we've got great parents. And I want to give our parents a shout out because I think too many times in our day and time these days we beat parents up. But I want to give our parents a shout out in District 1 because they are excellent. They are exemplary because you know why I feel that way? Because I'm watching these kids come to school. I'm seeing them develop. I'm seeing them learn. And I'm seeing great support from our parents. That is not like that in every school district. So I just want to give a big thank you to our parents and our grandparents raising our kids. Y'all are doing a daggum good job. And Mr. Chairman, believe it or not, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Okay, the next item on tonight's agenda is our public participation. We have two speakers. Speakers, you'll each be given 3 minutes to speak. Please keep all comments relative to the topic or topics indicated on your request form. You may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern you. However, the board will not permit in public session any expression of personal complaints about school personnel or against any person connected with the district. The first speaker tonight is Ms. Kim Sherwood. Okay.
I will use my 3 minutes tonight to discuss the district's failure to follow two board policies under Section D, Fiscal Management. Policy DIE, Audit/Financial Monitoring. This policy says the superintendent is ultimately responsible for receiving and properly accounting for all funds in the district. It states that the superintendent will present the board with quarterly financial statements of revenue and expenditures, including budgeted amounts which reflect the financial operations of the district. According to the official board agendas, 0 quarterly financial reports were presented to the board this year. The most current spending report available online is May 22, 2022. There is no ready proof that the superintendent is providing quarterly financial statements to the board as required under Policy DIE. Board Policy DIE/AA, Audit Committee Authority and Purpose. This policy dates from the August 2020 when the state required D1 to create an audit committee. The stated purpose of the committee is to assist the board in the review of the external audit functions. The committee must meet at least twice a year, report to the board at least annually, and create minutes of their meetings. The chairman for the past 2 years has been Mr. Rollins. Last year, the committee never met as required to review the audit before it was presented to the board for approval. This year, the audit committee met on August 3rd. They approved the auditor's $43,000 engagement letter, and they discussed the audit timeline. Now, I was going to say that you were here tonight to know that right before this that the audit committee met, when in fact Mr. Darver opened the meeting saying that the audit's already at the state, so you don't have to worry, rest of the board. Apparently, there was a phone call made with the members of, he calls it the Finance Committee. Apparently, the Audit Committee met out of the public purview, and don't worry, that audit's already been approved by you all, which is not the way it's supposed to be. The Audit Committee has once again glossed over its stated mission. The most current Audit Committee minutes are posted are March 2020. It's a mess. I am very concerned about the quality of the financial monitoring and audit oversight currently happening at District 1. An official FOIA request I filed for these very same quarterly statements, the audit, and one other document, came back to me with a price tag of $216 on it. It worries me that the board apparently has no idea when costs exceed budget. For example, in the case of legal fees, they would see that if they saw the audits and the statements. The board is responsible for these finances. I urge you to address these concerns and do better managing this $60 million budget. It will help the children.
Thank you, Ms. Sherwood. The next speaker is Ms. Judith Allen.
First, thank you for taking on the heavy responsibility of being a District 1 school member, where the emphasis is on education being student-centered. I ask of you tonight that you keep on keeping on and keeping all children and families in your heart and mind when called upon to make difficult decisions on all kinds of complex issues. Budgets can be moral documents. For 30 years, I was a kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, and first grade teacher. My college and graduate work and 3 decades of experience has shown me that children who feel that they are a part of a beloved community, whose basic needs are met, do better when it comes to learning. All children need a sense of security and belonging to learn better and to be better. Art, music, phys ed, and technology boost academic learning. Will any decision you make challenge every child to reach their potential? Will every single child feel loved, capable, nurtured, and safe? At times across our country, some children and families have felt left out and actually feared by others, sometimes hated. This was not taught in the schools where I worked. This came into the school from elsewhere. Children in my care were naturally good, cared for each other across differences, were inclusive, unless they had been taught to do otherwise. I quote, and I promise I won't sing. You can just tell my voice why I won't sing. From a song from South Pacific. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. Please do whatever you can to ensure that every single child and family in District 1 is able to grow in wisdom, wonder, care, justice, and service to all others. These diverse, multi-talented, caring students will one day, rather soon, be the ones holding our nation together. Our one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. That concludes our public participation. We'll move on to the next agenda item, and that is the personnel report. That's Dr. Trish Beeson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your board packet, you have the personnel report. I would ask at this time that you would approve the retirements that will be effective at the end of the 23-24 school year.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from the staff to approve the retirements at the end of the 2023-24 school year.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion on that recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the retirement in our package.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
I have a second. So Mr. Rollins made the motion, Ms. McDowell seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. According to your packet, I would ask that you approve the resignations, some effective immediately and some effective at the end of the 23-24 school year.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation for the resignations. Do I have a motion relative to the recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Fowler.
Yes, for the resignations.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Vanderford. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, again, according to your packet, I ask that you approve the termination effective immediately according to your packet.
Okay, we've got the recommendation from staff regarding the termination. Do I have a motion? Mr. Vanderford makes the motion. Do I have a second? Who wants it? Ms. Baker? Or Ms. Hopper, we'll give you the second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, I ask that you approve the appointments that are listed in your packet, some effective immediately and some effective for the 24-25 school year.
Okay. We have the recommendations for the employments. Is there a motion relative to the recommendation?
I make a motion that we, is it on? I make a motion that we approve the employment, for the current timeframe and for the 25. school
Okay.
year.
We have a motion on the floor by Ms. McDowell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Baker. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Dr. Beeson. Next on the agenda, we have the finance report. Ms. Lacey Brady, but do you want to introduce Mr. Darver, or do you want to go first? All right, so the first item under the finance report is Mr. Harris Darver will present the results of the fiscal year 23 audit.
Hello. Hello. Oh, there we go. Sorry. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Harris Darver. I am a partner with Darver Kelly, located in Greenville, South Carolina. I've been doing the district's audit as the lead partner for, this is my 5th audit year. I've been doing school district audits in South Carolina for over 15 years now. I think we're trying to figure out if it's 15 or 16 this year. But either way, it's been a pleasure working with Spartanburg One and the rest of the audit team. We, as previously has been done, we, sorry, I don't have my glasses tonight, so bear with me. It was easier when the Promethean was right in front of me. We met with the audit committee in August, and I apologize for using the terminology finance committee. Different districts interchange those loosely, so I do apologize for audit committee versus finance, and if I say finance tonight, I'm implying audit committee. The audit team this year was made up of myself as the lead engagement partner. My business partner, Leslie Kelly, is an independent quality control review partner, so she is not involved in any of the day-to-day of the actual audit, but comes in to do an in-depth internal quality control review of our file to make sure that we have audited based off of standards, that we've done the appropriate testing, and the reporting is appropriate. In addition, our engagement staff was led by Kirk Spots. We met with the audit committee in August of 23 of this year to go through the engagement letter as well as the audit timeline, and that was approved, and we began interim field work that week. We came back in September and October to conduct our main field work, which is when we camp out here at the district and spend the bulk of time. I know many people saw me around for a better portion of 2 to 3 weeks. And we move forward with our issuance by the December 1 deadline, issuing to the state. As has been done in the previous, I believe, 3 or 4 years, we emailed out an entire copy of the final draft to the full board in addition to the in addition to the audit committee for their review. I know one of the concerns that had been addressed by the audit committee was to have more time than what had been allotted in previous years. So this year we made sure to have in excess of 2 weeks for the entire committee and the entire board to have an opportunity to review that audit. We left our audit open, our file open, all testing had been performed and the draft was ready, but we left our audit and file open for the entirety of that 2-week period. I received phone calls and emails from various members of both the board and audit committee during that 2-week period to ask questions, get clarity on specific points in the report, ask about specific areas of testing and so forth. We addressed all of those concerns and questions, and the audit committee moved forward after that 2-week period with conducting an electronic approval to authorize the board chair and Lacey Brady as the CFO to sign the management rep letter, which is the final step of the audit that authorizes us to issue our audit. From that point, that was done on November 30th. We then finalized our audit and completed all of the necessary submissions to the Department of Ed by December 1 deadline. Our audit report, I'm pleased to report, is a clean, unmodified opinion on the audited statements that we audited for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. It reads, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of Spartanburg One as of June 30th, 2023, and the respective changes in financial position for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. As I mentioned before, this is what's considered a clean, unmodified opinion, the highest level report that can be received on the financial statements. Summary of our auditor's report. In conducting our auditor's report, we are required to test internal controls as well as audit the financial statements. As mentioned before, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. In our testing, we did identify an internal control deficiency over financial reporting that we identified as a material weakness identified in the audit report as 2023-001. We did not identify any significant deficiencies. However, this same internal control deficiency did lead to material noncompliance related to one of the major programs. As we discussed the federal programs, we issued both qualified and unmodified opinions. The qualified opinion was related to the Education Stabilization Fund, related to ESSER, and the unmodified opinions is related to other elements of the ESSER program, as well as the special education cluster. Qualified opinion is simply stated that, in our opinion, the district complied in all material respects with all the compliance requirements applicable to that program that are deemed to be material, except for blank. We did issue that qualified opinion related to this same internal control deficiency and matter of material noncompliance identified in the schedule as 2023-001. And we'll look at that in a second. This finding, 2023-001, is based around the, and I apologize, it's wage rate requirements, gives a tongue tie for me, and I've had this at 3 districts this year, so I've been saying it a lot. It is not unique to Spartanburg One. I think we will see this across the country this year pretty heavily. The federal government and state governments have identified this as a major risk area and identified auditors to take a closer look at this area. But 2023-001 states that the wage rate requirements as identified by the 29 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 5, require that non-federal entities, being the district, include in their federally funded construction contracts a provision that requires contractors and subcontractors to abide by these wage rate requirements. In addition to that provision being in the contract, it also requires contractors to turn in weekly certified payrolls stating that they have paid their employees in accordance with these wage rate provisions. In our testing, we noted several federally funded construction contracts did not have the required provision, as well as that those weekly certified payrolls were not obtained at the time of payment being made to the vendor. Since this audit finding had discovered this error, the district promptly took steps to rectify any federally funded contract that was still open and immediately issued change orders to include this provision in these contracts. The change order essentially puts that provision into place as if it had always been there. A lot of times people consider this a no-cost change order. It doesn't change the contract other than for a contract clause. In addition, the district has put in additional steps to make sure that these certified payrolls are obtained prior to issuing payment for any federally funded construction contractor. The largest of the ESSER construction contracts that covered a majority of the expenditures under this program did have that contract provision, as well as did have those weekly certified payrolls. It was some of the smaller vendors and vendor contracts that did not include that. Situations where the district received, through proper procurement, quotes and bids, and then issued POs accordingly, there was no formal contract in place. This process has been changed by the finance department to immediately input in these federally funded contracts clauses that include these required provisions. This finding is repeated, as I mentioned before, in multiple places in our reporting based off of standards, and that's why I have two slides here. The first is a internal control over financial reporting. The second, related to the federal program, it is the same finding. It's just how it impacts the financial statements due to the dollars that were impacted in the finding. Any questions related to the finding? Looking at some of the financial information of the district now, as you've heard me talk in previous years, or for the new members that haven't, government accounting functions on two separate bases of accounting. They look at the district as a whole and what's considered the statement of net position and the statement of activities. You'll hear this term used a lot called government-wide reporting. This shows the district as a whole, including all short-term and long-term aspects of financial reporting. This includes anything related to debt, to capital assets, anything that stretches beyond a year. When we look at the statement of net position for the district, total assets, like I said, I left my glasses at home. Total assets represent just under $100 million, with cash and investments at $27.6 million. Capital assets representing $64.9 million. Deferred outflows of resources, specifically related to the pension and OPEB plan, represented $33 million. Total liabilities of $175 million, with debt encompassing $60.9 million, with pension and OPEB at $109 million. Deferred inflows as well, related to pension and OPEB, representing $27 million, with a negative net position of $70 million. Of that negative 70, you had a positive net investment of capital assets of $9.5 million, which represents the value of the book value of the district's assets less any related debt. The restricted portions of net position for special projects, capital projects, and debt service, as well as an unrestricted net position of negative 88, thank you very much, I'm sorry, negative $88.4 million. I do like to point out when we talk about negative net position, the pension and OPEB liabilities. If you remember in 2016 and 17, Government Accounting Standards Board likes to complicate things, for lack of better terms, and wanted to depict in 2016 the government's proportionate share of pension liabilities. So they released a standard update that came out and said every government in the United States is required to depict the proportionate share of those pension liabilities on their books. It's computed on the state level by the state's actuary and depicts out how much each individual government within South Carolina participating is required of their proportionate share of that liability. Fast forward the next year, they said, hey, let's not leave other post-employment benefits out. Let's include those again the next year. So when we combine both of those and all elements related to the pension and OPEB liabilities, it totaled a negative liability, or a total liability, of $108 million. So if we treated this reporting as if those didn't exist, as they weren't reported on the books prior to 2016, the district under the same operations would have a positive net position of $40 million. So I mentioned two sets of financial reporting. The second set of financial reporting is the one that y'all commonly look at on a day-to-day basis. This is the current resources methodology that looks at the current focus of what are the resources for the district today to be spent on expenditures tomorrow. These resources, and looking at the general fund, show assets of $22.2 million, cash and investments making up 15.2 of that. Total liabilities of $3.2 million at June 30th, with all of that coming from summer salary accruals. Deferred inflows of resources related to deferred portions of your tax revenue are $455,000, leaving a positive net position of $18.5 million. The board does have certain portions of their net position, of their fund balance, I apologize, that is assigned for various projects. That comes out of that, leaving an unassigned portion of $17.5 million. Looking at revenues and expenditures for the general fund, total revenues of just under $54 million, tax revenues making up $16 million, with state revenues of $37 million. Total expenditures for the district for the general fund represent $54 million, with instruction making up 32.2, support services of 20.2, and capital funding of 1.3. Other financing sources represent transfers in from other funds, predominantly indirect costs and EIA transfers through state aid to district funding from the state, with a positive net change in fund balance of $3.5 million. Any questions related to the financials? Looking at fiscal accountability in Act 23, this was, I know, a focus that as recently as 5 years ago, the district had some struggles maintaining fiscal accountability and compliance with Act 23. Pleased to report that this is a calculation as mandated by the state that represents 1 month of expenditures for the general fund to be held in unassigned fund balance to deem fiscal accountability. That calculation for this district for June 30th, 23 would represent about $4.5 million. The district's unassigned fund balance that we talked about is $17.5 million, representing 32.4%, which is a healthy fund balance. Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to thank the entire district staff. I know through various parts of this engagement, it's not just finance that we look at. We're looking at compliance with construction contracts. We're working with multiple individuals. We look at HR documentation. And it really does take an entire team to help us meet the objectives of the audit and to timely work through the audit process and do this. So I'd like to thank Lacey Brady and her entire finance department, as well as Mr. Smith and the rest of the administrative staff here at the district office. It's really been a pleasure working with the district, as it has been for the last 5 years, and we appreciate the opportunity to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darver. Do we have any questions before we let Mr. Darver off the hook? I think.
The audit
think
committee
you're
was
free.
really fun. I got to talk about numbers, like real numbers.
Yeah. So thank you again for a good job. I know that is sometimes a monumental task, especially when you start talking about federal dollars. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, under the finance report, we have Miss Lacey Brady. She will be asking for approval.
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
I won't spill the beans. You go
All right,
ahead.
yeah. I gotta have some thunder. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the past 3 fiscal years, the board has voted to provide a $100 Christmas appreciation bonus to all employees of Spartanburg School District 1. So, again, we are recommending that the board approve amending the operating budget to provide a net $100 appreciation for all District 1 employees that we will pay in December before they leave to go on their vacation. The total cost of the district should not exceed $120,000, and that includes, that's kind of up, just in case. So I always kind of put a little cushion in there, but that will be the cost plus the benefits, where all employees will net a $100 employee appreciation gift.
Okay, we have the recommendation for the $100 employee appreciation gift. Do I have a motion relative to the recommendation?
A second.
I got a motion by Ms. Baker, second by Ms. Fowler. Any discussion?
Point of, is this something that we amended the budget? Is that what I understood you to say? So, okay.
Yes,
Next
ma'am.
year, will we include it?
Well, that's always the goal, and I'm glad you asked that. So I know that we have done this the past couple years, and when we did the budget the past fiscal years, I just at the time did not have enough reoccurring revenue to attach it to. So when we during our budget workshops this year, we'll talk about that. If this is going to be something that we do moving forward, it most certainly needs to be part of the operating budget. So hopefully the goal for 24-25 is to include it in there, and we won't have to ask to amend the operating budget moving forward. Okay?
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I gotta jump in on you here. I have made a mistake. You don't hear me say this much, but I forgot to swear in somebody.
I thought I was getting out of it.
Mr. Chairman, I need for you to come join me here with your family at the podium. No. Aren't you glad when you have great people around you and they send you a text, hey, you need to swear in the chairman? All right. Mr. Billy Cothran with his family. Please left hand and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of this office
to which I've been elected,
to which I've been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution of this state
and defend the Constitution of this state
and the United States.
and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Big round of applause, Mr. Billy Cothran. You're not going to get off the hook that easily.
All right. So now we move on to our next to last agenda item. We have the election of our officers. And I'll read a little bit just to kind of clarify some things because this does fall under the new policy in Section B that we approved, some minor changes. Don't know if they'll be necessary tonight or not. In accordance with Board Policy BD, we'll now begin the process of officer elections for the position of chair, vice chair, and secretary. All officer positions will be elected by a majority vote of the board. Additionally, as noted in policy BEDF, ballots may only be used when electing officers, if deemed appropriate by the chair. Please note that each officer position is elected for a term of 1 year, and the chair can serve no more than 2 consecutive terms. Any board member may nominate any eligible member for an office, and that includes themselves. Per policy, nominations do not require a second. If a candidate accepts the nomination, their name will be included in the vote for the officer position until such time as they may withdraw their name from consideration. If a candidate declines the nomination, their name will not be included in the votes for the position. Once the nominees for the specified position are clearly established, a vote will be taken. All board members who are participating in the meeting, including all nominees for the specified position, may cast a vote. If there is only one nominee for an office, the board may conduct a voice vote to elect the officer. If more than 2 nominees are on the ballot and no candidate receives a majority vote, a runoff will be held between the nominees receiving the 2 highest vote counts. Votes will continue to be taken until one candidate receives a majority vote. That's a mouthful. So, with that being said, I'll now open the floor for nominations for the position of chair.
Billy, is Mark Holden with us? Did we ever establish it's there? Because I don't know. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate.
Okay. We do have a nomination for Mr. Mark Rollins to be chair. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Having only one nomination, we'll do a voice vote. All those, well, I need to ask, Mr. Rollins, do you accept the nomination? Good. Because we're about to get you in the chicken wing. All those in favor of Mr. Rollins being the chair for next year, this upcoming year, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? And Mr. Holden says aye too, so we have a unanimous decision. Mr. Rollins, congratulations, you are the new chair. Okay, we got two more to do. Hopefully they're that easy. The next is nominations for vice chair. Do I have any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Ms. Wanda McDowell as vice chair.
Okay, we've got a nomination for Ms. McDowell as vice chair. Do I have any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Billy Coughlin for vice chair.
Okay. Do I have any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I move nominations come to a close.
Okay. All right. We'll close the nominations, hearing no more. Now, this could be a chair decision, but I'll let the group make the decision. We can either do a show of hands or we can do ballots. What's the general will of the board? Do you prefer ballots, or are we comfortable with show of hands? Show of hands. And show of voice, Mr. Holden, you will have to vote by voice. Okay, so we'll vote in order of the nomination. So Ms. McDowell was nominated first. So all those in favor of Ms. McDowell serving as vice chair, please raise your right hand. All right. Oh, I see 4 hands and an aye. So that is 5 votes, and that is a majority. So, Ms. McDowell, you are the new vice chair. Okay. Last but certainly not least, we have the office of secretary. Do I have any motions for, or nominations for secretary?
I'd like to nominate April Fowler.
All right, we have a nomination for Ms. Fowler.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Barbara Hopper.
All right, we have a nomination for Ms. Hopper. Any more nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I move nominations come to a close.
Hearing no other nominations, we'll close. I probably should have asked before vice chair, but I failed to do that, but I'm sure you're okay. Okay, good. So Ms. Fowler and Ms. Hopper, are you both okay with being nominated? All right. Okay, so the same thing goes. We'll do hand vote, show of hands, and Mr. Holden will do a voice vote. So we'll do Ms. Fowler had the first nomination, so we'll vote for her first. So all those in favor for Ms. Fowler to be secretary, please raise your right hand. Okay, we've got 4. All those in favor of Ms. Hopper being secretary, please raise your right hand. All right, we've got 4 hands raised, and we have a voice vote, so that is 5. Ms. Hopper is the secretary. All right, so now that was fairly painless, right? I know we've been through worse, so I feel good. The last item on the agenda is always my favorite. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Do I have a second? No discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.